We've seen the reports of fighting in these Aleppo city and the Aleppo countryside, certainly.
Sorry, you said that there were signs. There were signs of a major impending government offensive on
Well,
Aleppo?
it's implications of just that this has been something that has been talked about and reported. So we are watching it closely, of course.
Okay, and then this is different than Gaddafi threatening to go into Benghazi. How, again?
I'm not sure where you're going with this, Matt.
The reason that was given for NATO to take military action in Libya was that Gaddafi had threatened a major offensive on Benghazi, in which tens of thousands of civilians would die. We have already seen, as you know, tens of thousands of civilians die in Syria in major government offensives. And now you're saying that there are signs that there is a major impending government offensive on Aleppo, which one could argue would be the Syrian equivalent of Benghazi.
Well, Matt, we don't have...
And I'm just wondering why exactly that is not a trigger for military action in the same way that the threat of an invasion on Benghazi by Gaddafi was in Libya.
Well, Matt, I don't want to compare the two. I know that's what you're trying to get me to do. This is obviously one we've seen in this specific case.
Actually,
reports of this.
We have no... I want you to contrast the two. I don't want you to compare the two.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. We have seen reports of this. We're obviously watching it closely. As you know, there are a number of factors that go into decisions about what the next step should be for the U.S., which we've talked about quite extensively in here, as well as for the UN, which I would point you to them on, and I assure you they will be very responsive to your questions. But you know, beyond that, you can't compare country by country. There are different circumstances in each country, different issues we're watching, different.
That's right. I agree with you. I agree there are different issues. One main difference is that 80,000 people didn't die in Libya, and 80,000 people have died in Syria. Another difference is that Gaddafi never used chemical weapons. Assad, you think, and the Brits and the French say, have used chemical weapons. I just don't understand how it is that you can continue to do what you're doing now, which frankly is not arming the rebels, is not doing what you did in Libya, when the threat is not just a threat in Syria, it's actually happening. But I appreciate that you can't answer the question, so
it is actually happening. Let me just say this last thing. It is actually happening, and as I've said over the past couple of days, obviously the influx of Hezbollah and foreign fighters, the impact that's had on boosting the Assad regime, the overflow of this fight into other countries has refocused our efforts on what we can do on the ground. There are a number of factors, international allies, the UN, everybody's making their different decisions, but obviously this is one of those tragedies that the Secretary wakes up and thinks about every single day.
Just two quick follow-ups. You said that you are not comparing, but as